City, where thank God
just
an
looking at that, yeah.
innocent police officers weren't railroaded by wokeness. Jesus,
But truth and justice, thank God.
absolutely, holy shit! You know what? I think we've got our America back again.
Yeah, we're back. All right, I'm sharing now.
So next week, I'm getting our 2009 Hyundai uh, brought in for a recall notice that I got a year and a half ago.
What are they doing with the? What do they have to fix?
The recall. Here's the recall is that the anti-lock brakes may remain energized when the vehicle is stopped. If moisture enters the circuit, you get a short circuit, and I don't know whether the car could. I don't know what the fuck it means.
But they're fixing it.
I don't know. But
the car that came out during the first Obama administration.
It did cause big government to intervene in the private sector. That's all I know. Of course, a reasonable person would say, "Hey, you haven't done this for a year and a half, and it hasn't happened. Why would you do this?"
There's so much for reasonable.
My guess is if you did try to sell the car, trade the car in, a normal person might not discover that and say, you know, what's it?
Show me the Carfax.
Or is that another thing that doesn't show up on the Carfax? Like the Carfax doesn't show you anything that you need to know.
In classic Brad, the Carfax may be completely a fake product. It may not show you the stuff that it says that it does.
But it seems like it's closer to looking up the brand of your car on the internet and saying, here's my car.
Right.
You know what my favorite commercial is right now? That commercial where they use the song All By Myself, which was a hit by the guy who was the lead singer for the Strawberry Alarm Clock. A lot of people don't know that.
It's the raspberries. It was the raspberries. So you got the wrong fruit. You got the wrong fruit.
Okay. All right.
Ready when you are.
My God. Just as we were getting started, I looked down and the notification is from the Hollywood Reporter. Who is the next Ellen? The race begins to replace daytime's biggest host. Who is the next Ellen?
Tiffany Haddish. There it is. Give her daily show. Let it go.
Give her a show. Just
let her go. She's doing Kids Say the Darndest Things. She's doing like a couple other things. She's huge.
All right.
She's unbelievable.
By the way,
America loves this woman.
If you want to hear the most annoying, and believe me, it is hard to say this, that this is the most annoying Gilbert Gottfried ever. it's with Al Roker. Okay.
Please tell me he sings several times.
No, it's not the singing. It's Al Roker is like my age. He's 66 and he grew up in New York, and he was a little kid who just watched TV all the time. That's all he did. And so he knows the history of local New York kid TV more than it's mentally ill. So they just have this contest, a contest for an hour talking about what was on Channel 5 at 8:00. Okay.
He just spent a week, Rooker did in Cleveland about the reopening of America. And I know they did a bunch of shit with Channel 3. And I saw Holly Strano's stuff about them going around to different places. And it was just so thrilling to be in Cleveland for the reopening of America.
No, this is worse.
This sounds like it. This sounds really annoying.
And I knew probably about a third of what they were taught, the names, and because I was there a little bit, but no, not an hour and a half of it.
It's gone on way too far.
Please stop it. Just stop it. Okay. It is the Brad and Britt cast. We are so glad you are with us today. Thank you. And there are a lot of important things going on, which of course means we're going to start off with something that really isn't important, but it entertains us. We
always throw out the amuse-bouche to get things started here.
Yeah. There's a story that's moving today that Rudy Giuliani's son, Andrew, wants to be the governor of New York. He's ready to run for the governorship of New York against the evil Italian, Mario Cuomo, if Mario Cuomo continues to try to gain a fourth term or whatever. And Andrew Giuliani, you couldn't make this up, that at this point when his old man is about to be probably indicted, probably convicted, probably sent to jail, that he would think that his name, because remember, he had to make the calculation. My name is Giuliani right now. In the state of New York, where does that put me in the hearts and minds of enough New Yorkers to elect me governor? Oh,
front and center, baby. Front and center. Here in 2002.
What could possibly stop me? Yeah.
Here in 2002, you're in the catbird seat, son.
Right. Now, if you recall, Andrew Giuliani first got famous when he was 7 years old because I think one of Giuliani's inauguration speeches to be the mayor, he was making all kinds of faces.
He was just a goofball. He was all over the camera. If you those who remember very well remember Chris Farley playing him on Saturday Night Live, spoofing that whole situation. And Chris Farley's been dead for 24 years. So that's how long ago this was.
And I'm sure that the Chris Farley imitation of Giuliani was much more entertaining than the actual moment itself. I'm sure
it was probably he was trying to jump in his arms and he was just screwing around and all that stuff.
Chris Farley, one of the greats. All right, so fast forward, he's not 7 anymore. He's in college and he goes to Duke. Okay.
Yeah. As all the assholes do, as all the huge assholes in America do.
So, because the Brad and Britt cast never comes unprepared, we do our diligent research. Our diligent research for this story involved Googling the words Giuliani and Duke University.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you get the account from a nonpartisan journalistic outlet, Golf Digest. Okay, does Golf Digest have a liberal or conservative? Of course not.
There's no political lean to that publication, I don't think.
Right. I got to read this one because the guy is just. Remember, this is written in 2008.
Yeah.
Early that year, Rudy Giuliani's son was kicked off the Duke University golf team. The coach portrayed the kid as a hot-headed bully. Andrew Giuliani fired back with a lawsuit. Here, a skeptic might have thought, oh, great, another sniveling silver spoon brat. That might be true. It also might be too easy. There's the question asked by a friend to me, a Duke graduate. It goes, sniveling silver spoon? And exactly how does that make him different from every other Duke student?
I'm Stephen Miller. Have we met?
Right. One thinks of these Dukies painted blue at Coach K worship services. Hearing Andrew Giuliani's name, even the angels of tolerance among us would click on the YouTube video, and he describes what we were talking about with him making the faces at that. So advance forward here in the story, and the argument that Duke University made when he got dropped from the golf team was, well, he sucked. He wasn't even on the first tier of players. He was on the set. So Giuliani says he was unfairly dismissed, and his suit argued. And if this doesn't sound like Rudy Giuliani or Donald Trump trying to sue his way out of something or sue his way into a settlement, here you go. He said that enrolling at Duke, listen closely, enrolling at Duke constituted a contract in which his payment of $200,000 in tuition and fees across the 4 years, in other words, he paid retail. His old man paid retail to go to Duke. And you can look this up anywhere. Almost every one of these elite universities, you're an idiot if you're paying retail, okay? There's all kinds of, but okay, well, for the sake of the argument, we'll put that aside. They paid the full boat. That's, $50,000 a year, 20 years ago or so. That's about right.
Which entitles them to certain privileges, right?
Yes, it does. According to the lawsuit, according to the lawsuit, it bought him lifetime access to the golf facilities of Duke University.
That's nice.
The suit was asking for that access, compensatory damages, exemplary damages, legal fees, and a ruling that student athletes enjoy contractual rights. Duke said, what the fuck are you talking about? No contract ever existed. The golf opportunities at Duke are a privilege, not a right, because he didn't get a scholarship. I would say if you got a scholarship and they were kind of paying your way to go there because you were such a great athlete, you might have something. Right. You have something to say.
But even then, that's going to be conditional based on you, I don't know, not sucking. If you start sucking, then no scholarship. That's kind of how that works, right?
Right. So on and on it goes. I'll stop right there. There are other aspects to it, but just stop right there. So, and I know we're into this thing about cancel culture and going back in people's lives and, you did a tweet when you were 17 and blah, 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 blah. And that's not fair. Everyone deserves forgiveness. And okay, an errant tweet when you're 17, even a racist, vile tweet at 17, 20 years later should not derail your life. But your behavior like this, I think, should derail your life, if not stopping you from ever getting a job, at least making it obvious that you're unfit to be the governor of the state of New York or the governor of anything. You shouldn't even be the governor on my water meter. Okay, that's how bad you are. I don't trust you.
There was a big country hit for Barbara Mandrell in the 80s called "I Was Country" when country wasn't cool. This is "I Was Karen" when Karen wasn't cool. Right. Apparently, the Giuliani family had it down before it became a thing. And that's what Andrew Giuliani was doing here. But he wants to be your governor. And apparently, I don't know, somebody's done the calculus that Cuomo has blown it so much that this guy, I don't know. I don't think he's got a shot. For God's sakes, hopefully the Republican Party has somebody else who can do the job.
Well, but and people like this, I'm sure, are told that in a crowded field, you have a chance to get the nomination because people recognize your name, they'll vote for you. If people are that stupid. Yeah. And I guess sometimes that is true. people have changed their last name to Lincoln or Kennedy sometimes to win. Right, you've heard of that,
sure.
But I'm just not sure that right now, not even having to change your name to, but having it for real, the name Giuliani is a ticket to Albany. Yeah. Right, Albany's the capital of New York. All right, that's all. I just wanted to have. I enjoy that. I think it's so wonderful that nobody has even a scintilla of self-examination enough to go, this is not what I should be doing right now. This is not what I should be doing. Maybe I should be quietly supporting my father and helping him get through this very difficult time. Anything but going out into public and going through what you would have to go through just as a normal candidate to run for governor of New York. Just imagine this kind of baggage dragging behind you. So he's not the brightest boy. And and Britt, I think we do keep a list of Duke graduates for whom a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
You know, I see these TV shows a lot of times. I was watching this show on Showtime called Billions with Paul Giamatti. It's really good if you've never seen it. And Paul Giamatti has a lot of political aspirations, and he hires, he doesn't hire, but he has this consigliere it's played by David Strathairn, who was the owner in A League of Their Own. He played Ed Murrow in the movies as well. And these are guys that are hired, and they tell you the truth. They tell you, boy, this is going to be hard. And they go, this is what's happening in your back. And they basically try to shoot you down and tell you not to run for the office. Apparently, this is a completely fictitious kind of character in real life. There's nobody that will do this to this guy that'll go, this is why you won't win. You'll never overcome your name. You were a whiny ass college student and you're not qualified for the job. So there's really no chance for you to build any kind of infrastructure that would allow you to be a successful candidate. Apparently that doesn't exist IRL.
Well, I think what you've done here is you have built the foundation by which we can talk about a few other things right now as it relates to how this political party, formerly known as the Republican Party, is so infected with the inability to step back and deal with truthful things, that it doesn't stop them from doing anything, from the insane attempted fake ridiculous quote unquote recount in Arizona, where on Monday practically the entire Republican Party in Maricopa County, which is sitting back and being the subject of this recount by these people who came from Mars, right? What are they called? The cosmic cowboy fuckfaces from Florida?
No, the ninjas. They're called the ninjas or something.
Whatever. Right. They're all saying, that's enough. Stop it. We're done. You got shit on the election. You bring it to court. This election is kosher. It has been counted. It's legitimate. It's just stop it. Just stop it. To quote our old friend Charles McCord. Stop it now.
Stop it. Yeah.
Just stop it. But it doesn't stop them, right? And Andrew Giuliani is probably going to run for governor. He can't stop it. They can't stop it. And then that extends to, and I think I got a pretty good one up there on my Facebook page. I just thought of this about 15 minutes ago. If the Republican minority leader's name in the House of Representatives was Kevin Smith, you would insult him by saying, you're Kevin McCarthy. But you don't have to, do you?
No, it's right there. It's on the nose.
It's right there.
It's 2 on the nose.
Right. If your name was Kevin Jones, Kevin Wilson, you ran the Republican Party in the House. You are such a demagogue. You're such a liar. You are so bad for America. You don't believe in democracy. You want to have an autocratic one-party rule. You won't. You're Kevin McCarthy. Oh, you are Kevin McCarthy.
Wait a minute. That's I'm not even insulting you. That's actually your government name, as the kids say.
Right. Right.
As we started our shenanigans here today, they had word out of North Carolina. There it is. The district attorney has looked over what footage that he saw, which apparently is a lot more than anyone else has seen. And he said the actions of the officers in the shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. were justified, Brad. That everything's fine. It's on the up and up. Nothing to see here. Everybody move along. The family, as you know, was allowed to see, 8 seconds more of footage. They'd reviewed it and let the family see a few more seconds of it just the other day.
Well, there's more of it that's out there now. It's already been shown. I've seen a minute or two of it now. And I don't see anything there. And again, we can put aside and boy, I see a lot of letters to the editor, and they're, hey, black people, you want to not get shot? Just cooperate with the police. Quit running from the police. Okay.
Just the greatest.
Put that over there. Put that over there. All right. From what I could tell from the video that's shown, and the resolution on it is really weird. It almost looks like they put it through this, on your mobile phone. You can put video through filters and make it look. It looks weird. I think there are other versions from other police cameras that have not come out yet, but from the one that they've released, it sure doesn't look like any police officer was in mortal danger when the guy is driving away.
Right.
And they took a couple shots at him. Did they have to take a few shots at him? Because unless I'm wrong, it is not a capital crime to flee the police. It's not a capital crime to flee the police. And even where we live, Britt, in Greensboro, North Carolina, because of a case that happened not too far from where I'm sitting right now. It was at an intersection where someone was fleeing the police, I think they were fleeing the police, and they went 100 miles an hour through an intersection, and they killed a couple of people, or they injured one and killed another. And the question came up, well, why did this person have to be chased? And they had not committed a capital. They hadn't done anything that justified a police chase for miles and miles and miles to where the person ended up on a main street, and then at an intersection, plowed right through and killed someone. And I think that that issue was brought up then, that if someone is fleeing the police, if you try to chase them down at the same speed they're going, you could have this kind of car accident. Or if you start shooting at them, innocent people could be shot. Or in this particular case, whatever this guy was being served a warrant for, it was dealing drugs, I think, right?
Something. Yeah.
What if they would have let him drive away? They could have caught him at a certain point. They always catch these people. You're not going to disappear into the ether. And that's what I don't understand in this case. That why did they have to shoot him? What I don't get that. And he was unarmed, right? He didn't have any weapon.
Shot in the back too.
Right. Yeah. In his head, back of his head.
Yeah.
And when you hear this district attorney, nothing to see. They did it. You feel like, oh my God, the Derek Chauvin conviction really was an outlier. We really are right back in less than a few weeks to just where we were before, which is cops can do anything and probably get away with it. And all they have to say is, I feared for my life. Well, this video doesn't appear to back up that proclamation by police officers that they had their lives to fear by doing this. I don't see that at all. But again, this is going to be ultimately like those Facebook pages. Is it gold or is it green? Right? Half the people see it gold.
The dress,
see it green. But I would imagine that tonight in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, you're not going to want to be there. That's all I can say. I mean, right. I will be, and I know that the family will call for peace, but this just seems unbelievable to me.
Right.
This seems unbelievable.
Well, I assume there's going to be some review from the feds as to if Mr. Brown's civil rights were violated. I'm assuming that there still could be charges coming based on that, the Justice Department, and all that.
Right. I mean, this is coming off as, Sheriff Buford T. Justice out there in the middle of nowhere in some small county in North Carolina that nobody's ever heard of. You think we're going to go after our own? You got to be kidding. No way. No way.
Well, but then again, this sets up Joe Biden as the minister of woke to some people, trying to come in, swoop in, and as he's trying to administer some sort of justice as you and I see it, because this guy was shot in the back of his head.
This is not Joe Biden's call. What you're doing, what you just did inadvertently.
No, I didn't do it inadvertently. I didn't do it inadvertently. I know Joe Biden is not running the Department of Justice, but I know he also, the guy who does, works for him. I'm aware of all of that, and I know how this is going to be presented in the media. So that's how it's going to be presented by a lot of folks, is that the minister of wokeness is coming in and swooping in and trying to fix this thing. That's how it's going to be by the Joe Rogan States of America.
Right, but yet you need to be more specific on who will portray it that way, who will lie, who will distort, who will make it seem.
I believe those same Buford Pusser, Buford T. Justice guys that you were just talking about are going to be the ones who portray it as such. I think they're going to be the ones that are upset that the federal government is going to swoop in here, and I'm using the term swoop, and administer what looks to be some justice to a guy who was shot in the back of the head. So yeah, that's what's setting up in the United States today, is that, again, it's the two Americas, right? That's what's going on here.
Yeah, and you forgot to mention that the king of Palm Beach, I'm sure, will be just thrilled.
Yeah, that
the police officers were not victimized here, because, as you know, they were the victims in this case, as you know, right? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I'm looking on his stupid blog, and there's not much decent stuff on here. Somebody's not updating this the way they should. It's very unfortunate when somebody puts on his blog some shit.
See, here's the problem with that, Britt. You have to write in complete sentences, sort of.
Yeah.
You have to write actual paragraphs. You have to. You can't just pretend it's a Twitter thing with one sentence or two sentences and move on and have anybody pay attention to it. You just can't. Although I guess he does do that sometimes.
This is from 2 days ago. He's trumpeting that thing about President Trump has a strong hold on the GOP. 80% of the Republicans agree with the removal of Liz Cheney from GOP leadership. Only 20% disagree. The poll also showed 67% said they do not consider sleepy Joe Biden to be the legitimate winner of the 2020 presidential election. This is a great thing for Donald Trump from his blog. I agree with him 100%. Just look at the facts and the data. There is no way he won the 2020 presidential election. No way, Brad.
Right. So let's keep that in mind as we realize that today, Tuesday, as we speak here, Kevin Smith, we call him Kevin McCarthy, the House Republican leader, is saying, we don't need no stinking commission to look at what happened on January 6th. There are all kinds of other committees and things of that sort. We don't need a committee of 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats to really dig down, unless you're going to include everything that's ever happened that would be a white grievance. Okay, we have to go back to all other kinds of violence and mix it in with what happened on January 6th so that everybody knows, if I can paraphrase who, there are good people on both sides. And that's what he wants. And again, am I wrong about this? He has no power. He doesn't get to decide this. He's not running the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi is running the House of Representatives, right?
So, but he's also bargaining that all he's got to do is wait a year and a half, and he will be back in power. I think that's already baked in the cake for him.
I don't think so. That's not so easy. It doesn't work that way.
As you know, historically, the president's party loses seats in midterm elections. That's just, it's only not happened, I think, twice. So in the past 60 or 80 years. So I think they're just trying to run out the clock a lot of the times, but the idea that they would continue to minimize and downplay what happened on the January 6th is absolutely disgusting. And it's a no sell. And the Democrats have to fight that tooth and nail. They can't just do that. They can't just say that January, and it's not, let's be clear. It's not just assholes that are on at 9:00 on Fox News that are saying this shit. It's actual elected officials in the United States representative who were under attack on January the 6th, who are forwarding this narrative that, it was just, there's like three different narratives here. One is, it was no big deal and there were a bunch of tourists and they ate ham sandwiches. That's like number one, right? That's like narrative number one. Number two is, okay, there was a problem, but it was those Antifa and those BLM guys that stormed the crowd and they were trying to make us look bad. That's like narrative number two. And I think narrative number three is somehow blaming the Capitol Police, right? I think those are the three big narratives that they try to forward in this whole thing.
You're not being fair. Do I have to pick just one?
No, you can. It's a Chinese menu. You can have a little from here, a little from here, and a little from here. But those are the three big ones that they always put forward. And the one that they've been stuck on for the past couple of weeks is, it wasn't a big deal. Those pussies like AOC, they've overblown this whole thing. Everybody is fine. Even though I saw one of the representatives, one of the Republicans, who was like, it was just like another day of tourists. She was furiously barricading her door, fighting for her life on January the 6th because they were coming in to kill her and kill anybody they could. So, this is one thing where I think the Democrats should not give up any ground at all. There's no bipartisanship on this. There's none.
Right, no, they don't have to. And this pretending, not only that whatever happened back then to some people in a building in some city in between Raleigh and Boston on a day,
right?
To try to minimize it into nothing, just another day in January, I don't think it's going to work. And there are a couple of reasons why I don't think it's going to work. And it's for the same reason that Derek Chauvin was convicted. And it's the same reason that Mr. Brown in Elizabeth City, this will not be the final word coming from the prosecutor. It's because there is visual evidence. There's visual evidence that we can all see. And that changes everything. You cannot refute what happened on January 6th. We all saw it. The world saw it. You cannot deny what it was. And you cannot deny the fact that we already have people who are pleading guilty, who are about to be surely convicted for all kinds of crimes associated with what happened on that day. They're lucky that they live in a country that gives them some kind of protection from being taken out and shot as traitors, because in other places that might have happened.
Right.
But it didn't.
No.
And I'm glad of that, but they're luckier than they know. And no one's going to drop it that is not a Republican in this country. No one is going to drop it. And I think it's a losing hand. And if Kevin Smith, now we're going to call him Kevin McCarthy, if he thinks, and Britt, just remember a few years ago how many dumb things he was doing. He got caught doing all kinds of really dumb
Stupid
shit in public, where he had to apologize, and there was some question whether they would even keep him as the leader, because he was really doing dumb things. And this isn't too clever by half. This is 10 times dumber than that, to think that you can play four corners offense here for 18 months to get to 2022 and automatically gain control of the House of Representatives. The country cannot wait for that. The economy cannot wait for that. The world cannot wait for that. Israel and the Palestinians can't wait for you 18 months, Kevin. No one can wait. The virus will not go on hold for another 18 months. And you cannot play these games. Lindsey Graham did it yesterday again. I'm done with Trump. 2020 is behind me. I'm done with it. I'm moving on. Did you see him say that? No, you can't say that, because the very being, everything that we've talked about up until now on this Brad and Britt cast, everything relates back at some level to Trump fucking up the country and lying about the election subsequently, including the way police are being treated right now with kid gloves up there in Elizabeth City, right? And everything's political. And all these things relate back to that, and they're all because you, Lindsey Graham, helped feed the big lie. And you cannot come out periodically and say, like he said after January 6th, for about 5 minutes, I'm done. I'm not supporting this anymore. And the next thing you know, he's on a plane to West Palm Beach. Right. You can't do that. We are not fooled by that. And I'll tell you who isn't fooled by that, because it doesn't matter what poll you can pull out, doesn't matter what poll Trump thinks he can put up there. They're losing big with the independents, the people who really do move elections. Okay? They really, really are. They're not buying it in any kind of numbers. And any independent person looking at what's going on would see that Trumpism and trying to discredit Joe Biden and say that he's not really the president, that's all they're doing. You have to pledge that is what you're all about if you're a Republican office holder and a future Republican candidate. I guess that'd be the first question you have to ask Andrew Giuliani. Hey, Andrew. When the investigation of your father started under former President Trump's Justice Department, because it started 2 years ago, we've learned, right? They saw trouble. And when I say they, I'm saying the Donald Trump Justice Department, if you want to call it that, or the Bill Barr, or Rod Rose, whoever was the attorney, Jeff Sessions, whoever the fuck it was that was in the tank for Trump on everything, saw enough problems associated with what Rudy Giuliani was doing to initiate an investigation into him. All right, so Andrew, is Donald Trump the former president? Is he the president in waiting, or is he still the president? Which is it? Was the election conducted fairly in 2020 in the state of New York, where Joe Biden won a big victory? Or does there need to be a recount there too? Did Trump actually win New York State and they cheated? Because he's so well loved in New York City in particular. Yeah, I know he won a couple fucking redneck horseshit counties out in northern New York near Buffalo Upstate. And shit like that. That may as well be Alabama too, right? There's parts of New York. There are parts of New York that are like the middle of Pennsylvania, right?
That's true.
Which is Alabama in the middle and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh on the sides. New York is like that too, but the numbers aren't enough to make it a competitive state, because New York City is except for Staten Island. What the fuck is with Staten Island? Okay, that's a right wing shithole too. It is. It just is.
Pete David. That's Pete Davidson country, ain't it? Ain't that where he grew up?
Right. No. Whenever Fox wanted to do, a few months ago, whenever they wanted to find the bar or restaurant owner who was being harassed and run out of business by the rules from Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio, they would go to Staten Island.
You know what it reminds me when they go to Staten Island, when they'll have those remotes sometimes on Fox. If friends are on Fox, when they go to Gino's in Philadelphia, the cheesesteak place, and that guy's just a right-wing lunatic and speak English or get the fuck out of it. That's what it reminds me of when they go to Staten Island. They talk to those guys. It's just a bunch of that shit, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's the playbook is there. You just have to flip the page and find which stereotype you want to use, and it'll be available for you.
Do you think any of this stuff? Do you think any of this stuff that's going on in Israel now? Or do you think that's starting to reflect badly on Biden because he's trying to get the ceasefire going, some talks and stuff, and I don't know how much of this can actually be assigned to him, but I think the narrative in certain corners is going to be, everything was fun when Trump was president, but now that Biden's there, these guys are.
Yeah, it was great.
Then the previous couple thousand years are pretty peaceful, and all of a sudden Biden shows up and it goes all to shit. You're
right. Again, you're saying what. If you tune into Fox, that's what they will say.
That's what they're going to say.
Great. Jared Kushner brought peace to the area, and Biden comes in, and all hell breaks. I know that they're going to say that.
Well, do you think there's any traction with that at all? I mean, do you think they'll get any traction with that, or do you think there's even going to be some independents are going to start getting a little nervous after a while?
Well, number one, I can assure you, and we're more than 3.5 years out from. Joe Biden may be running for re-election. We're 1.5 years out from the next election. But one thing I can tell you for sure, people in the United States of America do not vote based on what happens between the Israelis and the Palestinians.
Jeez.
Never happened. It never will. And yes, it's important. Yes, it's a big deal. Yes, it's frightening. Yes, it could spread into something. Of course, that's all true. But you know what? That's not what we vote on in this country. It's still the economy stupid. It's still the virus stupid. It's still the vaccine stupid. And it's still, do I have a job stupid? And nothing will supersede that, even though, of course, there will be attempts to do that. But you can think whatever you want of what Joe Biden has been as a politician for 45 years in public, whatever kind of candidate you thought he was. But there can be no doubt that as president, he is modeling himself in the way he approaches the mechanics of the presidency more like Ronald Reagan than I've ever seen anybody in terms of staying on message, not making smart ass remarks about every little. Just think about all the tweets out of his ass that Joe Biden has never sent. He hasn't sent one, not a one. He has never made a comment on Twitter about anything since he has been president, unless it was, Happy Birthday America on the 4th of July. He'll probably send out that kind of stuff. But think of the difference between the way Biden gets his message out, which is very often just standing in that same room in the White House, reading off a teleprompter and saying things. Those are what we call audio tweets, okay? They're audio tweets.
Tweets. That's funny.
Right. He's saying what he wants to, but he's reading off his own personal Twitter account. It's a dummy account, but he writes it like Twitter so that you think it's a tweet. And it's so much more easily digested for most of us than to have some fool's Twitter thing blasting off at us 25 times a day. That's the difference. And that's much more Ronald Reagan-like than it is than you would imagine, right? Reagan didn't try to dominate every minute of your life. He was just affable Ronald. And I'm not talking about whether I agree with Reagan's policies. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about.
But you know what you're setting yourself up with this Reagan comparison. Some smart ass is going to jump in with an Alzheimer's joke. You realize that's what you're doing. Some idiot is going to jump in with that when you start making a Reagan comparison.
That was you. No, that was you. That wasn't anybody.
Right.
Nobody was thinking that.
Because I hate Joe Biden, and I absolutely made a point of voting for Donald Trump in 2020.
You are ascribing what you just said to a mythical, non-existent person who would say that, who might say that. But I accept it. I accept it.
Have you? Now we haven't talked about this, but you've seen maybe this story. There's a new book that's coming out that talks about how the Trumps use the Secret Service as their own, I don't know, whorehouse. This is going to be Carol Leonig. The Washington Post reporter, Leonig. Thank you.
Leonig, yes.
She has got a brand new book that's coming out. She won a Pulitzer Prize in 2015, among other things. She says that some members of the family started banging the Secret Service and started using them as their own personal brothel. including Tiffany, who apparently just was doing it so she could get away from her dad trying to hit on her. And the guy that she was apparently having sex with, he was not in violation because he wasn't directly protecting her. And also Vanessa Trump, perhaps as her marriage was falling apart, she also decided to fish from the company pond, as the kids say. Any thoughts on Carol Lenig's book and about the Secret Service being used inappropriately by the Trump family?
It's fun. It's enjoyable. I mean,
it
just
fits
add
in with the narrative.
Add this to the list. Add this just to the list of self-entitled, indulgent. The rules don't apply. Why don't you just think for 1 second about what you're doing before you do it? The way that the Trumps operate, that's the way they are. And I wish this was the worst thing that happened during the Trump years. This should be the worst thing. Trump's daughter-in-law was getting it on with a Secret Service agent. And
then his actual daughter. They had one of each. He had a daughter-in-law and a daughter.
Yeah.
In the new book, Lenig writes that Secret Service agents reported Vanessa Trump, the wife of the president's oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., started dating. I'm going to put the term dating in quotations in my mind.
I love that. Yeah.
One of the agents who had been assigned to her family. Lenig also writes that Tiffany Trump, Donald Trump's daughter, with his second wife, Marla Maples, broke up with a boyfriend and began spending an unusual amount of time alone with a Secret Service agent on her detail. Now, I'll make the point that
wait, she's married. She got married. What happened here?
What, Tiffany?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is before that.
Tiffany's married like some rich, I don't know.
I certainly hope this happened before all of that, because I just can't imagine
that. Now I'm hurt.
I can't imagine that a Trump would actually fuck around with their vows. I don't think that would be something that would. Lenig's book, it should be noted, is not about. I mean, this salacious stuff has gotten out to try to sell the book, and I'm not hating on that either, because I'll probably end up getting it from Audible, listening to it. But it's about the Secret Service going back, I think, all the way to the Kennedy administration, and just some of the problems that they've had over the past, 6 decades or whatever. But this is the stuff, obviously, that's out there because, the Trumps are horrible people, and they pretty much fucked over America. And any institution that they could drag through the mud, they were going to do. And they've done that with, apparently, the Secret Service as well, right?
There's nothing that's left untouched
really
from the last 4 years. There really isn't.
If there was a chaplain at the White House and Donald Trump went in there, pulled his pants down and dick whipped the guy, and you got that story, would you be like, nah, that never happened? I just don't believe that would have happened.
I just saw this yesterday, and I didn't realize that this was the fact. That guy who had been the White House doctor, Ronnie Jackson, he was a holdover. He was a holdover from the Obama years. Trump keeps him on, and next thing you know, he is, he's just losing his mind. He's drinking and all kinds of illicit drugs and all kinds of shit going on with Dr. Ronnie Jackson. And he gave that crazy press conference and wrote that letter that said, Donald Trump's going to live to be 300 and
healthiest guy we've ever had as president.
Guy we've ever had in the White House.
220 pounds, svelte, 220 pounder.
So finally they get rid of him. And the next thing you know, Trump tries to get him the gig as the head of the VA, which is a way bigger, more important job than just being the White House doctor. And that lasted about a minute. That career, I'm going to steal a joke here. His career as head of the VA was shorter than Jack Ruby's television career. You like that one? Yeah.
Yes.
For you younger people, look up Jack Ruby.
Yes.
But so he's done. He says, all right, I'm going to go to Texas and I'm going to run for Congress.
Yeah.
And they picked out a nice district for him to run, I guess. And apparently he got like 70 or 80% of the vote.
Of course he did.
He's a complete sleaze.
Of course
he's the worst of the worst. He was a Trump suck up. And in that, whatever district that is in Texas, and he had an overwhelming victory. These are the people. These are the ones that are continuing to rise up through the ranks and are populating much of our government. They're there.
They're like little sleeper cells, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's what that guy is. There's a picture of Ronnie Jackson. Representative Jackson, to you, pal. Yeah. As he introduced, this is from a few weeks ago, he introduced a bill to protect military bases from espionage. Thank God somebody's doing that. Thank God there's somebody out there doing the important work for America that we never thought that was needed. Thank you, Ronnie Jackson.
All right. I got one more here.
All right.
Since we're doing the easy shit today, and
you started us with a morsel to start. You'll finish us off with a morsel here.
Right. Here it is. And this is getting close to what I said yesterday. It's starting to get warmer, but we're not hot yet. Playing the is it warm? Right? Laura Ingraham calls it disgusting to force children to get vaccinated against COVID. It's both anti-science and abusive to force children to wear masks at playgrounds, summer camps, on planes, and anytime. Yet that is still what the CDC is recommending, if you can believe it. It's totally illogical. She kicked it up a notch after insinuating that mask rules are a plot by Democrats and their allies to, quote, force parents into getting their children vaccinated, even if they're uncomfortable with that. Here's a little advice for the left. Injecting children with an experimental vaccine for a disease they rarely get sick from and don't efficiently spread is a non-starter for most parents. It's going to cost you votes and possibly help you lose your control of Congress and the presidency. Frankly, it is disgusting. Now, I consider that, okay, we're starting to get a little bit warmer, and we're going to be closing in here on forcing people to show that they're vaccinated or making your kids get vaccinated. That's the equivalent of Holocaust techniques from the Nazis, making Jews wear stars and forcing them into labor camps, which weren't labor camps. They were going to kill you camps. I think she's starting down that road. And I just have one response to how horrible it is to force your kid to get a vaccine. I guess when babies get vaccinated, because the first few months you have your baby, you bring them back in and you get the basic vaccinations early on. And then a few years later, as they're getting ready to go to school, they might get some more. I guess those are just as horrible as this vaccine, right? They're just as horrible. And she's still calling it an experimental vaccine. Okay, Laura, the Pfizer vaccine isn't experimental anymore. It's been officially approved, and it's been approved for kids down to 12, and it's about to be approved for kids under 12. It's going to be approved for kids down to 2 very, very soon. And again, that always brings up the question, you're lying about your own vaccination status by not telling us what it is. She hasn't said whether she's been vaccinated, has she?
Right.
She hasn't.
No.
And
you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to at Fox.
Well, yes, you are. The people on the morning show, they keep pounding the table saying, go get vaccinated.
They don't count. After 8 o'clock is the only thing that counts on Fox. That's it. Those people are not allowed to say whether they were vaccinated.
No, Britt, morning drive is the most important time for TV. Morning drive is where it's at. You know that.
There's probably been a threatening between Tucker and Hannity and her, and they don't even have to be told. But it's like it's omerta, right? That's what it is. Nobody says a word. Nobody talks. You too, McCallum. You don't say one word about whether you've gotten that vaccine or not. Ever, ever, ever. Even if you're confronted with a direct question, you obfuscate. You do not answer that question.
All right. We will continue this conversation tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel as they all. Remember, his career was shorter than Jack Ruby's TV career.
Hi-ho.
I love that joke. It's perfect. It's fast. It's
but
out.
Not as entertaining.